Hey, brothers and sisters, what's up? This is the Reluctant Nabi back again. All right, this is going to be another video, and the title, it comes from something somebody said in this new documentary on Netflix called "Who Killed Malcolm X." All right, this is kind of a review. All right, this is kind of a review. But also, this is introducing the fallout from that documentary. All right? Because there is fallout. Because the brother that started this off, all right? See, Malcolm X meant more to some of us than many of the rest of us. And that's because at the end of the day, the more we looked into Malcolm X over Martin Luther King, all right, we saw a man who admitted his flaws, repented, but then stood strong as a man, not wanting to go back into corruption, whereas everyone else around him went back into corruption to where they sold out the community, their spirituality, their integrity. But this brother right here kept it all. And see, we have the view of hindsight 2020. This brother truly fought for us in a way that Martin Luther King could not. But then even Martin Luther King started to come to the light after a while and by and by. The same FBI that was doing the dirty tricks then are the same FBI mentality that's doing the dirty tricks against Trump today. Now, some Caucasians may be watching this particular video, all right, upset as to what the left is doing to Trump today. And some of the Afro brothers are now starting to understand why I said Trump was going to be the best thing for us. Because I said he was going to expose a lot of stuff. For the first time in the history of this country, the masses of Caucasian people are starting to feel the government in its crookedness in a way that Afro people felt it for the entirety of the creation of said government. All right? Let me greet everybody real quick. Reporting Hardu Gudal. All the way to the bank. Bosses Los. Bonjour, mes amis. Keru Bawani Konnichiwa. Ni hao ni amad. Sani banani. Jamba harbai gani. Assalamu alaikum. And shalom. All right? One of the guys remarked that the reason why Malcolm X met his demise was because of jealousy. But one way more important thing, because Malcolm X was a straight man in a very crooked game. One of the brothers said that, and I was like, you know what? Damn Skippy. Malcolm X was a straight man in a very crooked game by all of the politicians then and since, by the government then and since, by the religious organizations, especially the nation, then and since. Not only would they do this to one of their own because of jealousy, strife, but they did this to two of their trained who would have done anything for the nation, but the nation set them up so that others within the nation would not take the fall for Malcolm. And you gotta wonder, what is the stature of such men that they allow men to serve 20 years and everybody in the political arena, the police arena, the FBI arena know for sure. Know for sure. This goes out to my brother C. Willis. They know for sure who did what and where and when and how. All those involved know for sure, from the Nation of Islam to the FBI to the New York police to everybody. Everybody was included in on this, to include the government of New Jersey and many in the mosque in New Jersey. Oh Lord, this documentary right here outed everybody with physical proof, and all of this was kept silent because the surveillance by the FBI of citizens within the country was so intrusive and so against the law that everybody did everything to keep it hidden. The FBI knew exactly who assassinated MLK. Many of the police knew. The detectives might not have known because they weren't given the pertinent information. But the governors then and now knew, especially in New Jersey. It's an open secret in New Jersey. Think about that as we get into this. All right? But first, let me remind you, let's get those thumbs up, like, share, subscribe. When you subscribe, click the notification bell. To donate to my channel, my PayPal, me, and my Cash App will be in the description box. All right. It'll be in the description box. This thing is acting funny. Look in the description box because there's a lot of links to a lot of information. Because some of y'all going to be sore because instead of following the Most High, whether you call him Jehovah or Allah or Yahweh, instead of following the creator of the commandments, people are so bent on having loyalty to an organization that espouses a religion and the men of the organization than they have to the truth and justice. All right? So, let's get into this now. All right. This brother right here, a devout Muslim, Abdur Rahman Muhammad. This is the guy that decided to start doing this investigation because he was upset that people, everybody around him, would let innocent men be destroyed, their families be destroyed. He was upset that people would let a legacy for Afro peoples as a whole be destroyed. All because they worshiped a man instead of the Most High. This is the problem with many Muslims that I have. A lot of these dudes come out of these bad situations. Somebody show them a little light, but instead of saying follow the light, be a good man, and be accountable to yourself, no, they say be accountable to our organization and those we put over you. I see no different from the Nation of Islam than I see from the everyday Pentecostal Christian church. When you get people to go and take out a leader behind jealousy and behind the fact that he was telling the truth, and the money you was skimming from the poor people that you was living fat off of, you were afraid that he would correct because he really believed. Let me say this. Malcolm X really believed in the tenets of Islam. He really believed that a man had the right to protect himself. If he looked at the BAW, you know who, today, he would be as livid about their behavior and what they have become as we are to this day. Come on, 22 million to 60 million Afro people's lives taken in the womb because, you know, a woman's right to choose. The system gave the BAW, know who, the legal permission to do what is against the commandments of the Most High. When he said, thou shalt not kill, or in this case, commit murder. Because there is differences meant for war, more crimes where somebody take the life unjustly without provocation of another. All right, so that's why we say to commit murder. All right, none of these tenets did anybody stand for, not the government, not the religious organization, not the people surrounding the men, that went on to get appointed to high positions. All right, now let me jar your memory real quick. So this is the brother that opened up all this and brought all this stuff to light. And we knew it was going to have to be a Muslim because a lot of other people don't really know what's really going on. All right? So let's get into this. Let's dive into this. All right, hey, brothers and sisters. Okay, so this is now Governor Sheila Y. Oliver, right? And let's recall what she had to say about the whole incident as we call just how corrupt, no matter who they put in, well, almost no matter who they put in, you gotta watch your back. Because Cory Booker was obviously surprised and looked like he was upset about finding out the information. But this woman with a smile on her face, written all over your face, you don't have to say a word. That's right. But she said a whole bunch of words to show how complacent, how much she really didn't care, and how much not knowing and not trying to get to the truth was better for her state as she saw it. Because who cares about the Afro people? Who cared about the legacy of innocent men? Who cares about the legacy of an icon when you have a position based on, your zaddy that put you there? The Democratic zaddy. Let's make this clear. The FBI has always been the Democratic stronghold, while I believe personally, the CIA been the Republican one. All right. So let's remember her words.
Had you ever heard that Mosque number 25 was associated with the assassination of Malcolm X?
I have heard that. It's been talked about that, 3 Muslims from Masjid 25 were dispatched to go to New York to the Audubon Ballroom that weekend. I have heard that.
Do you know Mustafa Shabazz? Did you know him well?
I did. Yes, I did. As a matter of fact, I attended, the funeral of Mustafa.
We attended the funeral as well. Would you say he got a hero send-off?
Oh, without question, he did. And I think he served as a role model for younger Muslims in the greater Newark community, but young men.
He served as a role model for the younger Muslims in a great... So what's the lesson that they learned? We'll get around to that. What's the lesson that she think he was a role model for? Alright, a dude that did all kind of crimes all the way up until he was old. You know, like the BAW you-know-who that run through the carousel all the way up until they hit the wall. Then all of a sudden they ready for a good man. Okay, all of a sudden he ready to do good because his rap sheet was so long. It is now being viewed that he was an informant as well as a, assassin. Alright, allegedly. Alright, we know that allegedly is BS when we have a lot of evidence in the Afro community. So we call it what it is. Alright, but you have to say allegedly because there hasn't been a trial. Because they tried to keep this secret buried for a long time. Alright?
In general, we all know that he was very involved with Mosque 25 in Newark and just supporting the emergence of other masjids in the city. And I think that he was just well respected.
The reason I ask you that is, had you ever heard that Mustafa was associated with the assassination of Malcolm? Had you ever heard that?
I have heard it. In Newark, urban legend. You hear, when they say the streets are talking.
They have to make it seem like urban legend. You know why? Because they know the full truth. She as the governor, as a lieutenant governor, as a prosecutor, she knows exactly what happened. Alright, but they use key code words like urban legends to make it seem like that what people are talking about is somehow false, made up. With a little bit of evidence, but just made up. Oh no. The brother, Muhammad, the brother opened this wide open and let, now the whole world can see the injustice that happens in the United States when it comes to Afro men. And they can also see that how some of the times that injustice, you could pay other Afro men to act unjustly because many of us have no conscience, especially the religious ones, because they would defy everything their book says about something, be out of worship for a man. Alright, this is her good old buddy old pal, William Bradley X, also known as Al Mustafa Shabazz. Right? He died of heart failure. Alright, now this is coming from thecoli.com. Alright, they're calling him what he was. Right? He was part of the New Jersey NOI Mosque number 25, and was a suspected FBI informant. He was known as a stick-up kid who also specialized in robbing banks. More information will be given, on January 17th, which is already passed, when the documentary Who Killed Malcolm X premieres on Netflix. So y'all need to see that all the way through. This dude went a digging. He started with a shovel and then start picking things apart with a scalpel. That's how deep and how well entrenched and how hidden a lot of these truths were. And a lot of these governors, lieutenant governors, all these people coming up in politics, especially in New Jersey, knew about this, with the exception of Cory Booker. And that was probably because he was too young to understand what was going on. And honestly, when he heard the news as to what was going on Netflix, not only did he look shocked, but he felt a bit upset of hearing about this. See, because Malcolm X meant a lot of things to the Afro brothers, and this is what the United States was afraid of, that we would get our act together. That the mixed messages that they were giving the world, they were giving the world that everything is peaceful, while at the same time sticking dogs and hoses on us as Afro people, and coming out assassinating many Afro male leaders that wanted nothing more than justice and to be considered human beings. Think about it. Even to this day, the most blocked speech on YouTube and Facebook is the speech that is coming from Afro men when we're trying to tell you about our plight. Think about this. The same thing is going on now to this day. And check out her buddy old pal. How could he be so respected by all these government officials? It started to look like he maybe was an informant. And so this was a three-way hit. Maybe it was the government, the FBI, and let's be real. The Hoover FBI was quite capable of putting these things out on citizens. I want y'all to understand that. Because on paper they said we was citizens, but how they treated us was less than animals. They took better care of their police dogs and treated them better than the FBI and the government and the people at that time treated Afro people. All right. Now, here is the fallout. All right. So Rahman Muhammad, Abdul Rahman Muhammad. Oh, he was adamant about getting these cases reopened because not only because of he wanted to know who did Malcolm X in, but after finding out 2 other Muslims were put in jail to do a 20-year sentence and have that on his family, on their families, and one of the brothers did. Man, it said y'all need to go see the show. And it's more than a show. It's a real documentary with FBI documents that he gathered through the Freedom of Information Act. Oh, he opened up a whole can of worms. All right. So the Manhattan District Attorney's Office will conduct a preliminary review of the convictions in the case of Malcolm X 1965 murder. Okay. A first step in deciding whether to investigate further. The decision comes as Netflix begins airing a 6-part documentary on Friday that suggests 2 of the men convicted of the assassination could have been at this could not understand these. Two of the men convicted of the assassination could not have been at the scene of a crime. And if it wasn't for Malcolm X's own security, the government and the Nation of Islam would have got off scot-free. And maybe a third person might have been set up to take the fall. What kind of religious organization are you when you knowingly allow men to take the fall for something that they did not do because you're too greedy? You have no morality. You can't have morality as an organization to collectively allow this to go on. One of my closest brothers, Dwight, is Muslim. The real deal. And I could get along with men that seek righteousness, however they seek it. But this smells to high heaven as far as that organization. This is why there is a stench in the nostrils of many Afro people when it comes to Farrakhan and that whole organization. Just think of the support they could have had as an organization if they would have came. Just think of the support that they could have had if they, instead of being jealous, they would have realized that there would have been too many people coming to that organization for one reason or another, and you were going to need all the ministers that you had already to support. But so short-sighted was this organization that they took out their best asset out of jealousy and greed, and then became liars and complicit in dishonesty in allowing two of their own to serve time in jail. I cannot respect that. But this, then again, is why I had so much respect for Malcolm X. All right, Halim. This was the one guy that was actually caught, that actually was in on it. Said that the other two men who were convicted, Muhammad Abdul Aziz and Khalil Islam, did not take part in the crime. They were freed from prison in 1980. Islam, formerly known as Thomas 15X Johnson, died in 2009. He didn't die with no fanfare like the guy that just died that actually did the fatal shot. Aziz, formerly known as Norman 3X Butler, is 81 years old. Right? Halim filed an affidavit in 1978 saying that he was aided by 4 members of the Nation of Islam Mosque in Newark, New Jersey. Civil rights lawyer William Kussler tried to reopen the case but did not succeed. Aziz is currently represented by the Innocence Project and a lawyer, David Shaney's, who told the New York Times the lawyers are working with the prosecutors to see that justice is done. They are using the FBI documents that were never given to the police or prosecutors. But the prosecutors knew that the guys that they were prosecuting did not do it. The prosecutors have no excuse. They can't say we weren't given the evidence to know who it was. But at the time they convicted 2 innocent men, everybody that convicted those men, from the police, FBI, the Nation of Islam, they all knew, and the jury should have known, they all knew that these men that they convicted, the 2 of them, were innocent. Period. They might not have had the documentation to know who was guilty, but they had the evidence, eyewitness accounts. They had the testimony of informants. They had the testimony of people within the nation that and Malcolm X's own security that knew that those 2 guys were not there. All right. So, alleged Malcolm X assassin Muhammad Abdul Aziz left is introduced by Minister Benjamin Muhammad Wright in March as the new head of Harlem's Muhammad Mosque number 7. All right. Well, Malcolm preached in 1950. A recently released Netflix documentary on the 1965 assassination has prompted the Manhattan District Attorney to open a review of the case. The documentary theorized that 2 of the 3 men convicted in the case, including Aziz, were innocent. They take away 20 years of his life, but we'll appoint you to a position. Making up hindsight 2020. All right, but at least his name will be cleared. And in the meantime, we still can't trust the BAW, you know who, because they are aware of the corruption and they're not appointed to do anything about it. They're appointed to keep people mentally on the reservation, spiritually corrupted. They are appointed to make sure truth never gets out, even though they may know the truth. You have a lot of our BAW you know who's that will take the truth to their grave. Oh, that was his child. They'll take it to the grave. DNA afterwards. Nope, that wasn't his child. All right, this is sad. Where a few men get to live out a prosperous life after doing a bunch of heinous stuff and are given glory. Some of the most corruptible men are given glory and are made to be worshipped by the system. Whereas our greatest advocate for the right to be human are just off by these very people. Alright? This Netflix thing is a godsend in that it's going to start looking at how just the United States really is. And if at one time this country was really unjust towards Afro men, this was it during the 1960s into the 70s. And it is still that way now. They just do it sneaky and behind doors, and they get the BAW know who's and their minions to do their dirty work. Alright? But what all these informants, what the FBI did was heinous. And just think, now they're doing to Trump what they did to us. And now Caucasian peoples now are standing up for Trump. But where were the people to stand up for Malcolm? Oh yeah, we don't stand up for our own like the Caucasians are coming out to stand up for Trump. Oh, and guess what? There are a few of us that's standing up for and want justice for what happened to Malcolm. But guess who's really there? Who's been there all along outside of a few Muslims? It's been other Muslims that told this dude, oh, leave it alone. But outside of a few Muslims, guess who's been there? A few Caucasians. Like, this is wrong. This is unjust. Right? This is why everybody is losing respect for the FBI in the United States. This is why people are starting to lose respect for the people running Google and YouTube. This is why people are starting to lose respect for the people that run Facebook. Because the people that are trying to tell the truth, that want justice, that want to live in a just place, they're being hindered by the people that want injustice to continue. How do you get injustice to continue? You silence the ones that's bringing truth to light. You're giving them a watered down narrative of what actually happened to the point where we don't really understand, and it takes a documentary like this to say that rabbit hole was deeper than this movie could ever go. You're giving in to deception. Man baptized a scribe. He came up with this. I don't know if it was he or I. Need to call him and ask him, but we had this thing called a crack of food, where is the kung fu of deception, where you're paying so much attention to the wavy hands that you don't see the fist coming right for your face. Brothers, we need to be better than this. And I speak to us, Because when we become better than this and square off those BAW, you know who's that only meet us harm, then a whole bunch of options will open up to us of righteous women or women who are seeking righteous men. And we can't let the color of their skin be a factor in that. It's about women who seeks righteousness or not. With that said, I'm out. Oh yeah, and this is still a no depolicing zone.